Ideas are like the post office, an endless stream of ever-changing items tucked away in various envelopes traveling here, there, and everywhere, each of which has potential, infinite potential, until the envelope finally arrives, is opened, and the winner is never quite as good as it seemed at the time. Anyway, on the one hand, I'm thinking to myself, I should write an Unspoken Words episode on the word idea, because the idea of Unspoken Words is to reflect on a single word and what a single word can inspire. So, the idea of an idea like that idea might be an idea. On the other hand, and at the same time, I'm thinking that ideas are in themselves a form of energy, an energy that exists outside of linear time. And therefore, the energy of an idea can exist outside of me and my fixed position, and be in more than one location at any given moment. A bit like electrons. But I digress. As I'm pondering this potential for ideas, I'm standing in a queue at a post office with some envelopes and packages of my own, waiting my turn. The idea of using the post office as an analogy is nothing new. In fact, it seems unlikely that any great idea has ever arisen out of standing in a queue, apart from ideas about queuing itself. The zigzag formations you get at airport check-in counters, the take a number and wait for it to be called systems used at job centers, or the whole crazy queue-jumping concept of those food conveyor belts you get at fancy sushi restaurants in those city patisseries things. Queues are quite culturally specific. In other parts of the world where they exist, a queue is simply referred to as a line, as in get in line, stepping out of line, and so on. Similarly, the only thing of substance to have come out of having lines instead of queues is line dancing. One of many traditional tokens of American export culture, like democracy and shoestring fries, neither of which were thought up in a queue. Because although nothing ever comes of queues except eventually getting out of them, standing in line at the post office has given me a chance to think. Mostly about what I will do when I get out of this queue. This is called dwell time. Those periods of waking life in which people are trapped between worlds, transferring between planes, trains, and automobiles, departure lounges, ticket offices, station platforms, traffic light intersections, anywhere people are stuck in the middle of here and there, a space which is not quite the place you came from and not quite the place you're headed. But I digress. Because during all that time thinking about ideas being able to exist in more than one place at once, I am distracted by the man in front of me in the queue. His head and neck are shaven, and a single deep horizontal wrinkle is formed by the two fatty folds of skin separating the bottom of his skull from the top of his neck. At the same time, I notice that just there, within the folded wrinkle, the man has a tattoo inscribed on that part of his neck, which for the moment I can't read. And the idea occurs to me that he's had a tattoo inscribed on his person that only other people can read, as it's on the entirely opposite side of his head to his eyes. And that even so, as another person myself, who should be able to read the tattoo so imprinted behind him, so to speak, I find that the blank canvas of his skin has made it impossible for me to decipher the tattoo because of the wrinkle. And briefly, my different thoughts converge. Can a tattoo have a similar potential to an idea, or an electron for that matter? Could you have a potential tattoo, a permanent one that if you didn't like, you could change your mind about, one that would convey the idea of a tattoo without needing to be printed on the skin in indelible ink, or one that could be in more than one place on your body at any given time. Finally, I can make out the tattoo. The word Brenda is engraved on his neck in a font that looks like fancy handwriting. At which point, the two simultaneous ideas I've been reflecting on, unspoken words and the energy of an idea, are joined by a third idea about him. And that makes me think about third-person narrative, which is technically a fourth idea. But I digress. And I begin to drift amongst some ideas about the tattoo. I begin to inform myself that it has actually lasted longer than the relationship this fellow had with Brenda, which I imagine finished some time ago over what started out as a little chat they were having about giving their pet goldfish a Facebook profile, inviting online friends to become friends of their fish. Things started going awry over whether the goldfish's online profile should be kept to friends, extended to friends of friends, or just left for everyone to see. On the one hand, our man felt there was a general principle at stake. Sharing everything with everyone could be open to abuse. Marketeers, con artists, who knows what trouble the fish might bring home by being exposed to the cruel virtual online world. While Brenda admitted that yes, the fish has rights, but she felt these were more to do with quality of life, food, bowl space, and so on, more than what might constitute an invasion of the fish's privacy. It did live in a goldfish bowl, after all. Things changed dramatically after the first week of the fish joining the social net, because it quickly accrued more friends than both he and Brenda combined. At this stage, the thin veneer of civility between them began to crack as the arguments over who was posting what on behalf of the fish began taking over their lives. It was becoming apparent, with status messages being deleted and edited on the fish's profile without agreement, that they weren't getting on. She wanted to take the fish one way and he the other. He didn't find Brenda's jokes about living a goldfish bowl existence very funny. And she didn't see the wit in having the fish moan about how annoying those people who tap on the glass are. In short, it didn't work out. The fish still has a profile, but Brenda changed the password on the account while he started an alternative goldfish rights group. But I digress.